I'd like to begin this presentation with a quick review of how I became involved with past life regression, which later led me to spiritual regression. I'll also provide an overview of how our spiritual research group developed the information in my 2016 book, The ETs Speak, Who We Are and Why We're Here. And since publication of the book, I also have some very recent updates regarding the changes that many are now noticing here on Earth and in our skies. In 1995, before I was introduced to hypnosis and hypnotic techniques, I was led to and trained in two separate energetic healing methods for releasing the self-limiting emotional blocks that are holding the client back from expressing their full abilities. Both the autogenic relaxation technique of the Healing Touch program and the more thorough Rohan spiritual psychology technique taught at Delphi University in Georgia. Both techniques involve consciously moving the client's awareness back to what hypnotherapists call the initial sensitizing event that caused an energetic block in the client's energy field and chakra system, and to then release or repattern the flow of energy to a more harmonious level. Rohan therapy is taught initially as a card session, with subsequent more advanced Rohan processes taught with the client on a comfortable sofa or portable massage table. The client's entire energy field and chakra system is cleared of all negative or limiting energies, beginning with a womb regression in the root chakra to release any mother or father issues, and then continuing up chakra by chakra, releasing and resolving the most important mental or emotional energy blocks in each of the 7 primary energy chakras through an intensive series of previous lifetime experiences. After becoming more experienced in conducting past life regression sessions with the Rohan processes, I felt I should legitimize my healing practice, and in 1996 I became trained and certified in hypnotic techniques by the American Board of Hypnotherapy, and later I was also certified by the National Guild of Hypnotists, as well as the International Medical and Dental Hypnotherapy Association. My hypnotherapy training included several advanced techniques such as complementary medical hypnotism, hypnotic regression therapy, past life regression, Roy Hunter's parts therapy, and LBL, Life Between Lives therapy from the Michael Newton Institute. I also continued to explore and develop additional hypnotic processes and techniques that allowed conscious, experiential exploration of the spiritual or non-physical realms of consciousness. And this is the area that I specialized in exclusively until I closed my practice with the public in 2018. By 2010, I had developed and documented my Spiritual Journeys self-hypnosis program, which teaches students how to expand their awareness into a highly altered state of consciousness that I just call their spiritual area. Here they were able to meet and hold a two-way conversation with their own higher self, spirit guide or guides, or literally any other non-physical consciousness. After my clients learned how to consciously contact their higher self and spirit guide, they were also taught how to facilitate a healing session for themselves or remotely for another person on the higher energetic, emotional, mental, and spiritual levels of their being. But more importantly, they were also coached to recall many previous soul-level experiences as an unembodied consciousness, and to receive reliable guidance and truthful answers to literally any question that was asked. All these experiences and information was able to be remembered consciously, even after emerging themselves from self-hypnosis. In 2012, my Spiritual Journeys students asked me to establish what became our spiritual discussion group, where we could regularly and safely share our individual spiritual experiences in a comfortable, non-judgmental setting. Of the 24 or so students in our spiritual discussion group, 8 were able to develop their ability to consciously navigate the spiritual realms and safely interact with spiritual beings in detailed question and answer sessions. These 8 initial students formed what I call our spiritual research group, and we regularly investigated a wide variety of topics, such as what are the crop circles, and how and by whom are they made, and what is the ET presence and their activities in our solar system. Other channeling sessions were also held to investigate the cause of a disease, how the Egyptian pyramids were built and by whom, and many, many other topics. In our channeling sessions, there are 3 participants. The director of the session, usually myself, who remains fully conscious and asks questions. The channel, one of my trained students, who places themselves into deep self-hypnosis and then becomes open and receptive to information from spiritual sources. And the source of the information being provided, usually the channel's spirit guide, an ascended master such as Saint Germain or Sananda, or an archangel such as Michael, Gabriel, or Raphael. This channeling method is similar to that used by Edgar Cayce, where the questions were asked by Edgar's wife Gertrude or his secretary Gladys, and the channel was of course Edgar himself. The reported source of the information provided to Cayce was the Akashic record of all information and experiences of all beings in creation. The main difference between our method of receiving information and Cayce's method is that Cayce was completely unable to remember any information he had provided while in deep trance, whereas my channels were consistently able to consciously observe the information transfer as it occurred, and were also able to consciously remember it after emerging from self-hypnosis. In early 2016, I was invited by one of our spiritual discussion group members to attend the first annual UFO Paranormal Summit in Ocean Shores, Washington, as a curious guest. Well, initially I thought it'd at least be interesting and maybe even informative, but I was really unprepared for what I heard from the members of the audience during the presentation of the several speakers. Many in the audience stated that they had previously been abducted and had primarily attended the conference with the hope of getting some answers. Several wanted to know why they specifically had been abducted, what had happened during their time aboard the spacecraft, and what are these strange marks that are now on some of their bodies. Many attendees also wanted to know who were these beings, or where did they come from, and what are their intentions. Just knowing you've had an experience that no one understands or wants to talk about can be very stressing, with much anxiety or even fear. There was also a lot of anger in some of their voices. They wanted to know why there was a complete blackout of information about the invasive and experimental activities that no one understands. Why is my personal experience met with half-truths or complete stonewalling instead of factual explanations? The people in the audience wanted to know, why is no one listening to my real experience? Well, I listened. I felt their frustration. So I decided to investigate the UFO phenomenon with my spiritual research group and ask these hard questions that needed answers. We found that there are many different spiritual sources of information that can be contacted, but also that there's a wide degree of believability and trustworthiness among different sources. These include the channel's higher self, that part of each of us that just knows and feels when something is right or not right. But our biggest problem is that we often ignore this inner wisdom and start thinking with our conscious ego mind instead of trusting the inner wisdom and guidance from our own higher self. And it also includes the channel's guide and the director's guide, who are always present during a channeling session. These beings are also excellent sources of information about nearly any topic or question at all, and if they don't know the answer themselves, they can easily consult another spiritual being as appropriate. Ascended Masters are beings who have lived highly respected physical lifetimes on Earth, but are now back in the spiritual realms following the death of their physical body. Angels and archangels rarely incarnate physically, but they're all excellent sources of information on a very wide variety of topics. Deceased relatives and friends who are back in the spiritual or astral realms after they've died may also be contacted if desired. However, the quality and truthfulness of their answers may be somewhat limited depending on the level of their spiritual evolution while alive. The astral realms are also heavily populated with beings who are still in their initial stages of spiritual evolution, or they're still learning their third-dimensional lessons of duality and polarity, as in truth and falsehood, right and wrong. These beings sometimes purposely mislead and deceive other astral sojourners, so it's imperative that the spiritual journeyer be aware and also be prepared to banish those with negative or selfish intentions. And in a moment I'll describe how our channelers do just that. But the higher dimensional extraterrestrials, or off-worlders that we met and interviewed, were all spiritually evolved beyond any intention of deception, and were ready and willing to assist with any questions we asked. My 2018 book, The Art of Metaphysical Communication, discusses several ways intuitively derived information may be provided to us humans from the spiritual realms of consciousness. But the method I use is what I call directed verbal intuitive conversation, where I can participate as the director in a two-way verbal discussion with non-physical sources that I trust to discuss topics I have no conscious knowledge of. With this method, I can not only ask questions and get answers, but also get a more detailed understanding of the concepts and wisdom in a conversational format. Our spiritual research group has found that the most reliable information comes from individual spirit guides, such as the channel's personal guide, or from ascended masters and archangels. These sources have the most extensive direct knowledge of events and actions in this and other dimensions and universes, and in addition, they all have direct access to the Akashic record of the complete history of all thoughts, deeds, and actions by all beings who have ever existed. Through repeated interactive channeling sessions, we've established close energetic rapport with the individual soul energy of the primary spiritual guide of each of our channels. Each channel in our spiritual research group has been trained in the self-hypnotic protocols and procedures of the Spiritual Journeys program. At the beginning of a typical channeling session, the channel rests in their favorite chair or recliner, and the director simply says, "When you're ready, move into your spiritual area and let me know when you're there by saying, 'Okay,' or 'I'm there.'" A few seconds later, when the channel connects with their higher self, the director then asks them to establish a clear channel of communication to the highest levels of love and wisdom, and to let the director know when that has been done. When the channel is in their spiritual area, the director is then in communication with the channel's higher self, or soul-level conscious energy. The director then usually asks that the channel's higher self call forward their spirit guide and establish contact between the director and the guide. Additional sources of information may also be called forward, such as an archangel or ascended master, depending on the issue or the information to be discussed. During the entire channeling session, the director remains fully conscious to ask questions, jot down notes, and ask for clarification if any information from the source is not clearly understood. Each channeling session usually lasts about 70 minutes, or until the source notices that the channel is becoming physically tired. The entire verbal conversation between the director, channel and source or sources of information is normally recorded on a digital voice recorder and then later transcribed and archived for future reference as appropriate. But how do we ensure that the information we receive is valid and truthful? There are 4 levels of validation involved. First, how do we know that the being we're speaking to is really the being that we called forward? The Spiritual Journeys program teaches each student to challenge each and every being whom they meet in the spiritual realms. And this is done by clearly and directly commanding that the being in their presence verify, first of all, that they are in service to the light and love of the One Infinite Creator, and secondly, that they are, in fact, the being who was called forward. We've learned that in the higher dimensions of the spiritual realms above the physical world we're aware of, the more evolved beings are telepathic and cannot deceive another's intentions when correctly challenged. For instance, if you call for your spirit guide to come forward and you become aware of a cloud of purple light, the proper challenge initially would be, "Purple cloud, are you in service to the love and light of the One Infinite Creator? Yes or no?" Give them no other choice of an answer. And if they don't immediately say yes, they're an imposter or a deceiver, and you need to banish them immediately by saying, "In the name of the One Infinite Creator, I command you to immediately and permanently leave my presence. So be it." And they always do. Then call again for your spirit guide to come forward, and again challenge whoever or whatever appears. And if they confirm that they are in service to the One Infinite Creator, you can invite them to come closer and verify that they are who you called by saying, "Are you in fact my spirit guide? Yes or no?" If they say no, you know they're in service to the light and love of the One Infinite Creator. You can ask why they're here. Do they have a message for you? And if it is your guide, listen to their words. Feel them. Do you discern patience and love, or arrogance and judgment? And trust your inner instincts. As the channel relays information to you, is there any indication that the words, ideas, and concepts might be coming from the channel's conscious mind? Or is the information something new that the channel couldn't have consciously known about before? Several sessions with each channel are required to really get a good feel for their clarity and freedom from judgment, personal biases, and distorted beliefs. As the director of the channeling session, are the intentions, ideas, and concepts being provided through the channel clearly understood by you? If additional clarity or explanation would be helpful, be sure to ask for it. Highly evolved spiritual beings are very concerned that the information they provide be received and understood as they intended. So are you willing to suspend judgment if you're given new or difficult information or concepts to consider? And finally, can the channeled information be independently supported or confirmed through other sources? If new information is provided, can it be corroborated through another channel? If 2 or more channels bring through the same or very similar information from different sources, the validity of the information is enhanced. Absolute congruence of the information may not be required if, for instance, similar concepts and core informational themes are provided by different channels from their individual guides. And if all the above levels of validation are met, I can vouch for the validity of that information, at least until additional information is received that either refutes or supersedes what we accepted before. So with these procedures, instead of regressing individuals who believed they were UFO abductees, we began interviewing the Abductors to understand their motives, intentions, and objectives for abducting selected humans and conducting what the abductees believed were genetic experiments on them. Our spiritual research group began by inviting a representative of the Greys to come forward and answer our questions about them, and also about the nature of their activities. We were introduced to both the tall Greys and the small Greys, separate races with a common origin on one of the planets around Zeta Reticuli, a binary star system about 39 light-years from Earth. We found that the tall Greys appreciated the opportunity to tell their story. But we also found that the small Greys were totally uncommunicative and refused to even talk with us. The tall Greys and the small Greys originated from different races on the same home world, but the tall Greys have evolved significantly beyond the self-imposed limitations of the small Greys. The tall Greys, who consider themselves cousins of the small Greys, are highly intelligent, technologically and spiritually evolved beings capable of interplanetary and intragalactic travel, but not yet intergalactic movement. Their spaceships carry the small Greys as passengers to investigate worlds that the small Greys are interested in within the Milky Way galaxy. The tall Greys see the purpose and mission of the small Greys as being quite positive, but they do not approve of the small Greys' methods because of the unexpected, intense fear caused in human abductees. However, the tall Greys will not interfere with the free will of the small Greys to do their experiments, expecting that in the long term, the small Greys will also evolve when they choose to do so. The tall Greys stated that eons ago, the small Greys chose as a civilization to restrict themselves to a purely scientific investigation and study of the genetic basis of various forms of life, without any interference from opinions, beliefs, feelings, emotions, or even of a recognition of the higher spiritual realms. Therefore, they focused only on what works in the physical world and what doesn't. As a race, they've chosen as their primary purpose to collect and archive genetic information and material. The small Greys know that humans are remarkably intelligent, adaptable, and flexible, but we humans are also extremely aggressive and warlike. After we developed the first atomic bombs and immediately demonstrated our willingness to kill other humans with these bombs, the small Greys believed that humans would inevitably destroy Earth and all life forms on it. Therefore, following the atmospheric and subterranean atomic explosions beginning in 1945, they felt it was necessary to harvest and archive human genetic material, sperm and eggs, so that if humans did destroy the Earth, human life could be reintroduced on another planet to ensure continuation of the human species. Aboard the Tall Greys spacecraft, genetic experiments with other human and non-human genes continued to be conducted to create several hybrid species. These hybrid beings are then subjected to a wide range of temperature, moisture, gravity, radiation, and so forth, to determine the viability of each hybrid in the physical environments found on various worlds. However, around 1990, when the Galactic Federation moved from passive observation of humans to active intervention to prevent destruction of the Earth, the small Greys concluded that further genetic harvesting of human DNA was not necessary, and they have now turned their investigations toward other worlds in the galaxy. From the previous human actions observed by the small Greys, humans were about to obliterate all life on the planet in a nuclear war. So to them, bringing specific humans to their UFOs and harvesting their genetic material was completely justified in order to guarantee that human physical bodies could again be restored on another planet that could environmentally support the human species. And it's my opinion that if you're an abductee who experienced genetic harvesting and experimenting, It was because your specific gene line contains characteristics that would provide the greatest probability of successful introduction on another world. They could have abducted anyone, but they selected you. Following our initial and only partially successful session with the Greys, our guides redirected further channeling sessions toward a different but more important objective. Now that we were able to converse with non-human consciousnesses, the spirit guides overseeing our channeling sessions instead wanted to introduce us to the Galactic Federation and understand their planning efforts to introduce ETs to humanity. Our guides had foreseen that the book I had intended to publish about the Greys could also serve a much more important objective, that of introducing humanity to 2 or 3 physical ETs who will represent their respective civilizations at first contact events on Earth. We were told that the Galactic Federation is now planning for these events to occur throughout the Earth, quote, very soon, unquote. In addition to physically meeting ETs from 2 different civilizations, they also wanted to introduce us to several additional civilizations that will be present, but not in physical form, to support these first contact events. And we were also assured that the book could still discuss the objectives and methods used by the Greys to abduct and examine humans as well. The Galactic Federation is made up of many hundreds of technologically and spiritually advanced civilizations from planets surrounding each of the estimated 200 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy. However, not all civilizations in the Milky Way galaxy belong to the Galactic Federation. Some are still in their early stages of development and haven't yet reached higher states of technology that allow them to become spacefaring. Some civilizations are very highly evolved into states of pure consciousness and are past the need for physical bodies and the protection provided by the Galactic Federation. And some civilizations simply choose not to become members. When a civilization becomes spacefaring, the Galactic Federation usually extends an invitation to join it, but membership is never mandatory. Each civilization must choose to become a member. Territorial disputes and similar mediation issues between civilizations and races are also examples of topics that are referred to the Galactic Federation Governing Council for resolution. Scientific explorations and development of interspecies trade and commerce are also encouraged and supported. In addition, if one civilization has an abundant supply of a specific natural or produced resource, other civilizations can be made aware of its availability and where it can be found. The Galactic Federation also provides protective defenses against errant asteroids or comets that may endanger a member planet or civilization. It also provides protection against aggressor civilizations from other galaxies that may consider military conquest or unwilling acquisition of our galaxy's planetary resources. Diplomatic resolution of these types of issues are attempted first, but if not successful, usually a show of force on the part of the Galactic Federation is quite sufficient to deter any potential aggressor. Although the Galactic Federation provides these services primarily within our own Milky Way galaxy, the Galactic Federation Governing Council maintains strong coordination with the governing councils of other galaxies as well, such as with the Governing Council for the Andromedan Galaxy, our closest neighboring galaxy, only 2.5 million light-years away. As reported in my 2016 book, the Galactic Federation was, at that time, also carefully supporting and mentoring the emergence of humanity into the cosmic spacefaring community by preparing to hold several first contact events around the world. These events would physically and visibly introduce humans to their galactic neighbors. One scenario for holding these introductions to our cosmic brothers and sisters is to hold a series of first contact events in many countries around the world during daylight hours. So as Earth turns on its axis, many areas and countries would be illuminated. First contact events are preferred to be held in remote areas with little population to make it very difficult for humans to preposition any military strength that might try to disrupt the activities. At each of the first contact events around the world, one plan calls for a very small number of ETs to physically meet with specifically selected humans who are well known and respected within their local area. Initially, the ETs would be from races that appear very similar to humans, so that fear and anxiety about the appearance of the ETs would be minimized. The credibility of the selected humans at each event would lend a sense of trust and safety on the part of other humans viewing the first contact events. Whether or not the ET's spacecraft is also visible would depend on the initial level of fear and stress shown by the humans. If the humans react with fear or anxiety, the spacecraft would not be visible. However, if the fear shown by the humans is minimal, the spacecraft may be uncloaked and plainly visible. To achieve widest public knowledge of the event, the actual physical meeting between the humans and the ETs will be recorded and broadcast live through any and all means available, including the Internet. The Galactic Federation has assured us that the actual first contact teams will be comprised of at least one and no more than two representatives of the Pleiadian and Arcturian civilizations. These ETs are capable of appearing physically and will be visible to us, and we'll see that they're physically similar to us. The fact that they could even be mistaken for humans and are able to speak with us are the reasons these races have been selected from among the hundreds available for these introductory meetings. In addition to the visible first contact civilizations, ETs from the Sirian and Antarean star systems will also be providing supporting assistance. These beings aren't physical, but will be closely monitoring the emotional energies of the humans during the event, and will provide telepathic information about our emotional reactions to the Pleiadians and Arcturians as the event progresses. The Sirians will be monitoring our emotional reactions from their home world about 8.5 light years away, and the Antareans will be in their spacecraft orbiting the Earth. If we show great fear, the meeting will be rather short. But if little stress or anxiety is shown by us, much sharing of important information can occur, and the interview will be extended as desired. Additionally, the Pleiadians, a non-human civilization from one of the planets orbiting Arcturus, will be maintaining a protective energetic field around Earth that will prevent any harmful energies from reaching Earth. The Pleiadians will also not be visibly present during the first contact events. And, as always, assistance is readily available from the hundreds of Galactic Federation members if additional specific support is needed during this critical introduction period. The ETs are really pulling out all the stops to make sure that our first physical public meetings with them are successful and peaceful. Depending on how the first contact events go, the ETs are also prepared to provide working devices and instruments, along with instruction and training on how we can use and even duplicate them to help us improve our natural environment in our daily lives. Many positive changes are ahead in our individual lives and for our societies, nations, and our world. The ETs have said they want to assist us in cleansing our atmosphere and oceans of both natural and man-made pollution and poisoning, including the radiation from Fukushima, oil spills in our oceans and seas, the mountains of plastic in our oceans, and even the toxic release from pesticides, herbicides, and harmful chemicals in our rivers and lakes. They say that they're not here to clean up our mess and our planet, but will readily provide many technologies that will allow us to expedite the process worldwide. And they'll also work alongside us to return planet Earth to its original pristine beauty. They say they can identify natural foods and grains that are most nutritious and that can be grown in a wide variety of climates and environments. Improved transportation and distribution systems will be suggested that can ensure that none go hungry, and also that allow distribution of necessary resources to all that need them. Improved methods of natural healing using sound and light will be given to extend the health and longevity of our physical bodies without relying on chemical regimens that are often ineffective and have serious negative side effects. Small desktop devices will be demonstrated that allow us to tap into the universal magnetic energies available all around us, that can heat and light our homes, and can power our cars, our transportation systems, and virtually any device or instrument that now requires electricity. These devices will be gifted to us so we can reverse engineer them and make them inexpensively available throughout the world. We will also finally be given free and complete access to the true history of Earth, of our civilization on Earth, and the knowledge of our cosmic brothers and sisters, and about our place in this world and beyond for our use as we see fit. We will also be instructed in the natural methods to develop and expand our higher dimensional conscious abilities, beginning with our innate telepathic abilities. Why telepathy? We're told that an important first step in each individual's spiritual development will be to automatically move into a consciousness of cooperation instead of competition, of helpfulness instead of belligerence, and of tolerance and acceptance of others instead of bias and prejudice. So when the people you meet are also telepathic, it will be impossible to hide your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and intentions from others, and you and everyone you meet will soon leave a service to self mentality and move into a philosophy of service to others for the common good of all. And this is the higher consciousness that our cosmic cousins want us to bring with us to other worlds as we emerge into a spacefaring civilization and reach for the stars. But the big question remains, when will full disclosure happen, complete uncloaking of the extraterrestrial craft in our skies, and a general worldwide introduction of extraterrestrial beings be made visible to humanity as a whole? In a conversation with Newman, one of the Galactic Federation representatives, he said that it's basically up to us humans, with the following preconditions. 1. A majority of humanity must consciously ask for the overt physical presence of the ETs. 2. A majority of humanity must have evolved into a level of consciousness where they are in service to others rather than service to self, essentially moving from confrontation into cooperation. 3. It must be physically safe for the ETs to present themselves. And 4. The safety of humans must also be ensured. In other words, there must not be a level of fear in the humans that provokes them into harming either the ETs or other humans. In October 2018, our spiritual research group again contacted Newman and requested an update to the information he had provided for my 2016 book, The ETs Speak. We were advised that very soon there will be one or more large energetic shifts in consciousness, what some call the event, that will begin to change in a fundamental way how humans interact with each other, how they interact with their environment, and ultimately with the ETs themselves. In a direct quote from the channeling session extract, Newman said, quote, "Humans are very, very very close to that majority that we've spoken of in the past, of 51% or more of the people becoming aligned to move forward in a positive way, which will open avenues for contact with extraterrestrials who are waiting now in the wings, unquote. In addition, Newman said, quote, I will tell you that in some ways our activity has increased as far as monitoring and watching, because the crest of the wave of which we speak is nearly here, unquote. When I asked, where are the civilizations from that are now involved in the transition process of Earth? Newman replied, quote, they are from other universes and from other time-spaces that you do not know of yet. They have come from as close as your own galaxy and as far as beyond what you even know exists, unquote. When I asked if there had been any increase or decrease in the activities of the gray civilizations, Newman answered, quote, the small grays, as you call them, have moved out of the area and no longer experiment within our galaxy. The tall grays observe, but their pursuits are elsewhere. The tall grays are not involved with any of the changes moving forward and probably will not work directly with humans after the change in consciousness happens, unless specifically called in, unquote. I then asked to know if the first contact scenario described in the ET's speak was still being considered by the Galactic Federation as a viable option. The reply was, quote, yes, it is an option to create an awareness within humanity that we are here to help. It is as before, and they will only do so when they are absolutely sure it's a safe thing to do, and that humans will not harm each other. So as time moves forward, and people make choices to be in service to self or be in service to others, which is the most general way to explain it, then the likelihood of appearance by ETs becomes greater. That's why we can never say on X date and time it will happen, because the timing is completely dependent on humans' energetic levels, unquote. In January 2019, I asked Chiton, an Andromedan who was assisting the Galactic Federation during the current evolution of humanity's consciousness, for a separate update on the same subject, and I selected a different channel from the one used with him before in 2016. Chiton reported that the general scenario previously described in the 2016 book is, quote, still our primary interest, unquote, but also that many options have been considered. He also stated that the first precondition has been met. The second precondition is, quote, within reach, unquote, and that they do not see an issue with that particular consideration. The third precondition is no longer an issue. Chiton said, quote, while we have the power to ensure that no ETs would be harmed, we would prefer that those steps be taken on the part of the humans first, unquote. The fourth precondition, that no harm would come to humans witnessing the first contact event, is more problematic since, quote, many of your nations do not limit the ownership of private firearms. There seems to be an increase in incidents of using those implements, and as long as that kind of climate is active, we would not feel that this would be one of those places selected for first contact, unquote. However, Chiton also said that humanity has evolved as far as it can go without a significant increase in its understanding of the nature of life in the universe, and that there is much intelligent life in the universe beyond Earth. He said, quote, evolution as a species and as a worldwide culture is necessary, with some divisions that are willing to cooperate with those around them rather than fight for pieces of Earth. The maturity process going on with humans is very threatening to those who enjoy violence and power over others and don't want to see it end. But at any time we wish, we could simply step in and say, we're here, get used to it, grow up and move forward. but humans would benefit more from maturing to a point where they are willing to accept a request to meet with ETs without it just being done to them. We believe that environmentally, Earth could be entering an irreversible crisis if humans choose to continue ignoring issues such as global warming. Then it will reach a point where not even with our powers could we reverse the effects. ET first contact needs to happen sooner rather than later, so we may end up forcing the issue somewhat if we can do so without it becoming volatile. We're attempting now to decide when sooner would be as opposed to later. Learning the skills of maintaining an individual identity while at the same time cooperating with other individuals and larger groups is an advanced, mature species skill. Your people must move out of what it means to be a member of a specific group and into what it means to be a human. We're noticing an increase in the number of people interested in these kinds of meetings and organizations, those from the marginally curious to the deeply committed. These organizations can be used as support bases for those individuals who want to promote and work together to help each other as this global event comes, because it will, of course, be monumental to the future of all mankind. Humans are not known for taking those kinds of changes easily. We would say to everyone that the future of the human race lies in cooperation, but at this point in time, that is an advanced skill, and humans are just now beginning to learn and practice what that means. What you need to know is that first contact is inevitable, or Earth will not survive. The arrival of the ETs is inevitable, and it will come in a way that will benefit all of the planet and all of the countries and all groups. Humans need to move away from some of their social requirements and definitions, the way they define themselves, and instead simply mature into a single human culture of cooperation before moving into the Galactic Federation as a co-equal with many other advanced spacefaring cultures and governing bodies." Unquote. Since many recent changes have occurred on the global scene since the 2019 update, primarily in Eastern Europe, in April I again asked our spiritual research group to update the previous first contact information, and Ashtar, the commander of the Galactic Federation fleet of ships now circling Earth, advised us of several significant changes to the plans for introducing ETs to humanity. The session also included Michael, my own spirit guide, who provided a glimpse of the big picture for the current and planned energetic changes coming to humanity and to our planet. And as always, during our channeling sessions, the directors and channel's higher selves are always simultaneously present and can be called forward to speak at any time to offer their insights on the topic under discussion from their perspective. Most significantly, both Ashtar and Michael reported that physical first contact with ETs has already occurred in many places, initially with the Arcturians and the Pleiadians. The contacts have usually been made with single individuals or very small groups who are then asked to spread their experiences to others who have awakened and are aware. Additionally, Michael reported that there's been a significant increase in the energies being received by all life on Earth. More solar flares from the galactic center via our sun are adding to and stirring up energies from within Earth's inner regions, and this is, in turn, causing increased activation in the consciousness of humans on the surface. This is causing a state of heightened polarization among much of humanity, as we are seeing in our social and governmental interactions. This polarization is expressed most openly as a direct conflict between those who are creating fear and chaos in order to divide and conquer, to exert power and control over others, and those who are strengthening their mutual connections with others for greater peace and unity. But the clear message is that it's essential for each human individual to become aware of these confrontational extremes so that they can choose with their eyes wide open which pathway they wish to walk forward on. Michael reported that the universal, galactic, and solar energies on Earth will continue to increase and amplify the polarization of energies as we move through the solar maximum in 2025. Then, at some unknown point in the very near future, 3 minutes from now or 3 years from now, an immense pulse of universal energy will cause each human everywhere for a short time to consciously know who and what they truly are as an individual spiritual consciousness who has temporarily agreed to be connected to a physical body. Their choice to follow chaos and fear or peace and love for all will determine which path they will experience from then on. They may accept a higher level of unity consciousness and being, or remain in fear and separation. Choosing love over fear accelerates the ascension of your own individual consciousness and how you interact with others. And Michael also assured us that the angelic realms will continue to help and assist each soul regardless of their choice. Last month, Ashtar reported that the rate at which the ships in our skies participate in Operation Peekaboo and making crop circles will increase, and one-on-one physical meetings between humans and the ETs, primarily the Arcturians and Pleiadians, that will also increase, with thousands of individuals in positions of local prominence already having been physically contacted. Their mission is to spread the knowledge of the presence of the ETs here on Earth and in our skies, but only with those who are ready to listen. Archangel Michael also reported that galactic and solar energies will strongly increase and begin to affect in a positive way the dormant strands of human DNA as they are activated in preparation for expansion of human consciousness into the next level of awareness. However, he also noted that many will resist these new energies and instead create conflicts and fear as a means of distraction to what's really happening on Earth and within Earth. Because of this widespread fear, at this time, the global revelation of the presence of the ETs will most likely come not from governments or heads of state, but instead from the worldwide reports of the thousands of personal physical experiences being reported in all cultures and nations around the world. The truth can be denied, but it simply cannot be held back. In conclusion, Michael has said that our planet has been visited over many millennia by many civilizations, and that the small grays have moved on. Also, that the member civilizations of the Galactic Federation are quite benevolent and are hoping that humanity can continue to evolve spiritually without destroying the planet in the process, in the hopes that we do survive and successfully transform our current societal, governmental, and technological institutions into ones that emphasize cooperation and peace rather than confrontation and conflict. The Galactic Federation is ready to assist us in restoring the original pristine beauty of our planet. They have the ability, the instruments, and the knowledge to help us clean up our planet as we begin to explore the worlds in our own solar system and begin to interact with our galactic brothers and sisters. Thank you for letting me discuss my own evolution as a regression therapist, with particular emphasis on what I call spiritual regression, and to help spread the messages of the ETs and those in the higher realms of The 2016 book contains full transcripts of conversations with 2 or more representatives from each of 6 extraterrestrial civilizations, as well as from the Galactic Federation and the Greys. The complete transcript of all the update sessions to the ETs speak are available as a free PDF download by pointing your browser to www.howardbeatty.com/updates.pdf. All lowercase, and this link is case sensitive.